6 p.m. in Kolofata and same time right here in the economic capital city of Duala. Good evening, dear viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. bilingual newscast. We are broadcasting live from our economy headquarters, Duala. End-of-year activities hampers an effective second-term school resumption across Cameroon. Several pupils and students answered absent, causing several classrooms to be almost empty. Teachers blamed the poor attendance on the fact that everyone was busy feasting. Civil society actors condemned what they qualify as a blunder on the part of the educational stakeholders. Just like the educational sector, economic activities were partially grounded in several business centers across the city of Duala. And away from that, teachers say President Paul Biya's strategy, so to speak, will be anti-productive and could have far-reaching adverse consequences on the quality of education. According to them, the ultimatum given to striking teachers is a clear proof that the government is not concerned about their challenges. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe TV. You definitely made the right choice. We begin with this human interest story where about 4 houses have been consumed by flames in the Aqua neighborhood, Duala 1 subdivision. According to inhabitants, the fire sparked off after an expired gas pipe got connected to the gas bottle. All attempts made by the population to turn off the flames were futile. No human life was lost, but enormous material damage was incurred. And away from that, we now talk something else. The start of the second term of the 2023-2024 recorded a poor turnout in most schools of the city of Duala and its environs. In some schools where few teachers answered present, learners were absent. Few students who spoke to us suggested that Wednesday the 3rd or Thursday the 4th of January would have been the most appropriate days for schools to resume in Cameroon. We have details in this report done by Fomi Armstrong Sanda.
A city classroom of Government Bilingual High School Banga in the Mungo Division, just 10 students answered present on day 1 of back to school, 2nd January 2024. A picture which wasn't different from most classrooms and schools visited in Banga and the entire Mungo Division.
No student in school today because some students never came back to their houses today because they were tired, and some say they'll come to school next week morning because of the holidays that is going on.
The story wasn't different in the heart of the city of Duala.
It's not easy because half of the population is not there, but the few children that are there, we have started following the government date. We are there, even some of the teachers, some of us, we traveled far and near. We are here. We have started. We encourage parents that schools have resumed. They should start sending their children. Everything, activities have started. All schools, the teachers are ready, waiting for the children to come.
Faced by the odds and the less effective turnout, school officials emphasized that the second term of the 2023-2024 academic year has kick-started and parents should get their kids on board as fast as possible.
For me, Armstrong Sanda reporting there. And business activities were very timid in several business centers across the city of Duala a day after New Year's celebration. Several shops remained closed as most operators decided to rest at home. Just a handful of traders were spotted in their business premises. Magic and Gabriel reporting how business activities are unfolding in the city of Duala.
Several busy areas in Duala were on lockdown after the celebration of January 1, 2024 at the Kam Yabasi neighborhood, which is well noted for the sales of vehicle spare parts. We met a timid business environment with many shops closed as their owners continue to enjoy the new year. Notwithstanding that most stores were closed, some business persons were courageous to open their business places.
We come and open market or see whether we sell. The place is dry. People that never come home. That's why you see our place. The business is too dull. It's too low. It's too low. Yeah, it's too low. We are doing anything this morning.
But why did some open their business places a day after January 1?
I will just come and rest. We already stay for house this long. They will just come and pass time and go house.
From the Kam Yabasi neighborhood, we moved to the Kasala Farms quarter under Nkululu neighborhood. The picture portrayed wasn't different from that at Kam Yabasi, as most stores were closed, but some determined business operators succeeded in opening the business places. If Joseph Ezenwa at the Kam Yabasi market says things are slow, Shaba, who deals in clothing, say it's a day for him to make money. I'm very excited because I'm making profit since many others have not opened. It's an opportunity for me to finish the stock I have in my store. Still within the Kasala Farms quarter, busy zones where fast foods are sold were all locked up. At the Chinese market in Duala, activities have resumed timidly as business persons were spotted in their numbers back to their stores. The road that before now was very tight due to congestion is now open and circulation is fluid.
And now we talk something else. Teachers say President Paul Biya's threat strategy, so to speak, will be anti-productive and could have far-reaching adverse consequences on the quality of education. In his end-of-year message to the nation, the head of state sent warning signals of possible sanctions against striking teachers. Babla Jonathan tells us more.
Il sera dès lors difficilement admissible.
President Paul Biya says no to children's education being taken hostage by those he qualifies as a fraction of teachers who he says apparently have hidden motives for embarking on a strike action. After expressing his desire to improve on the teachers' working conditions, he went further to state that he is intransigent on the respect of the right to education.
Des mesures fermes vont à cet égard être prises.
He then announced what he called firm measures to avoid a victimization of the education of young Cameroonians. This is interpreted as a threat, or better still, an ultimatum directed at teachers who have been on strike for several months over poor working conditions. This is seen as an anti-productive strategy.
Threatening the teacher generally, it will have a negative impact because, a teacher should enter in his or her class with a lot of joy. Once you are receiving threats before doing your job, there is going to be a lot of inefficiency as far as the job is concerned.
To head teacher Jerome Bekwa, political will is the key to the solution.
What it needs is the willingness of the state to call the parties involved and have a very good dialogue with them so that all the parties should be satisfied.
The striking teachers have given themselves a week of teaching to see what measures the head of state will take and their next plan of action.
An economist, Polycarp Chinwe-Talas, says President Paul Biya's decision to reduce subsidies on petroleum products will go a long way in increasing the prices of fuel, and also it will affect economic activities. According to him still, it will create other problems like rising the prices of other products. He welcomes President Paul Biya's zeal to ensure that Sonara is quickly rehabilitated. Innocent Aze reports.
Addressing the problem of fuel scarcity in Cameroon is one of the issues President Paul Biya promised to concentrate on. This to him will be through reduction of fuel subsidies at the moment, despite the burden on state coffers.
Subvention is a short-run measure, but which is not reliable enough, and it can begin to cause other effects because subvention means that we're taken from another sector and we're brought into the sector, and which the other sector could dampen, and the petroleum sector also we need to take it from there, and so it's going to cause a lot of instability at that level.
To President Paul Biya, Cameroon is left with no choice than take this action, which will result in a slight increase in prices of petroleum products Actions will be taken to ensure the requisite adjustments do not significantly affect the purchasing power of households.
There is already malfunctioning in the economy because of the current situation which we have with skyrocketing prices or inflation rate of products. Petroleum products right now, most road users or industries using petroleum are complaining already about the prices of the petroleum product. So any 1% shift in the prices of petrol or any scarcity in petroleum products, especially fuel, is going to go a long way in causing some instability in the functioning of the economy.
The head of state also promised to hasten the rehabilitation of Sonara to rescue Cameroon's treasury. This makes sense to the economist.
The transportation cost that we have, moving the crude oil here to some external countries for refining it and bringing it back, that cost is going to be concentrated and is going to reduce the cost of production. And in that light, when cost of production reduces, means also that prices are also going to reduce. And therefore, we will not have an increase in the price of petrol. We need to go fast and rehabilitate Sonora, and if it is not possible, create even other refineries in the country so that we can be petroleum autonomous. And why not, to some extent, even we can be so autonomous that we begin to export petrol or sell petrol to other countries, which will be income generating.
Polycarp Chonyi warns, if the rehabilitation of Sonora delays further, the state coffers will continue to bleed with inevitable consequences on the population.
And now to religion. His Grace Samuel Kleder, Archbishop of Duala, has called on Cameroonians to massively join in the fight against corruption, which is hampering the growth of the country. He was speaking on the occasion of New Year celebration at the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral, where thousands of Christians gathered. Asia Lucy Yengu has the details of what the Mass was all about.
At the esplanade of the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral, thousands of Christians converge on New Year to listen to God's message for the year 2024. While celebrating the Pontifical Mass, His Grace Samuel Kleder conveyed key messages of peace, unity, and love. He equally encouraged Cameroonians to join the fight against corruption.
La corruption, c'est ce phénomène-là qui détruit aujourd'hui notre pays. On ne peut rien faire.
The Archbishop reminded the faithful on the importance of agriculture, which can help reduce famine.
Ce qui sauve le Cameroun aujourd'hui, c'est que les gens ont à manger, ça veut dire que les gens cultivent. Qu'on continue, n'est-ce pas, de développer l'agriculture.
Accent was placed on peace as the international community celebrate the World Day of Prayer for Peace.
From the Holy Father's letter and message for the World Day of Peace, which is today, it cautions us against the dangers of artificial intelligence and cautions on the use of it, that it should not be another way to enslave people.
The Christians went home with a message of peace, love, sharing, and living together.
We need to fight to act for peace in our country. And I say the peace started in our mind, in our family, in our society.
We are happy, we thank God for the words of the Archbishop. That is, the Pope has been praying for peace for long, especially for the Anglophone crisis. And he prayed that may peace reign there.
They equally sang songs of praises and worship in honor of the Virgin Mary and the birth of Christ.
And now, newly promoted soldiers have been called upon to intensify their efforts at tackling security challenges facing the nation, especially in the conflict northwest and southwest regions. The calls was made during the Epaulet Award ceremony that took place at the command post of the 5th Joint Military Region. Details with our reporter, our Northwest correspondent, Bo Stella.
The epaulet ceremony evolved in a strictly military style, with the new ranks placed on the shoulders of the newly promoted officers. In total, 181 military personnel from the different corps were promoted with ranks ranging from sub-officers to officers. This public ceremony is a confirmation of their respective sacrifices in maintaining security in a region which has been experiencing violence for the last 7 years due to the actions of separatists.
First of all, I want to thank the hierarchy for the new rank because it is a mark of confidence. new rank, it means new responsibility and a good job. With honor and fidelity, I will achieve the mission directly linked with army and nation.
These ones are being celebrated today, but there are many of their colleagues who will never hear the applause because they now lie 6 feet below the earth. The ceremony therefore offers yet another avenue for the soldiers to be reminded of their duties despite the challenges that lie with achieving the expected result of a peaceful nation.
I would like to encourage them to mobilize tomorrow more than ever before in peaceable vigilante group to assist the security services in the move taken to bring back long-lasting peace in our region.
The ceremony taking place at the command post of the 5th Joint Military Region had in attendance top administrative and security heads as well as family members of the newly promoted officers. A march past by a detachment of the different corps crowned the ceremony in Bamenda.
And out of Cameroon, Sucé Masra, an opposition figure, has been appointed Prime Minister of Chad. The announcement came as Saleh Kebzabo, the previous Prime Minister, had just resigned. Meantime, the President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Félix Tshisekedi, has been re-elected for his second term after getting more than 73% of the vote in the last election. Sergio Chakutio with a run-up of our foreign page.
In Chad, the former opponent Sucé Masra was appointed Prime Minister earlier on Monday, 1st January 2024, by decree of the head of state of the transition, Mohamed Idriss Déby. Sucé Masra returned to Chad on November 3rd after a year of exile following the deadly violence of October 20, 2022. His future government will have the mission of organizing the elections to put an end to the transition opened in April 2021 following the death of former President Idriss Déby. While supporters gathered at the Transformers Party headquarters, there were also voices of skepticism and disappointment.
I have confidence that it will rise to the challenge his predecessors couldn't meet. It's a positive move, but also negative. I expected Masra to be the president. Back in the days of the Marshal, he was offered the position but declined. So why refuse to serve the father and now serve the son?
Enon Jondan, a member of the civil society, emphasized the need for peace considering Masra's exclusion.
The fact that two significant players, those who control the military and repression machinery, and those who influence the discontented youth on the streets, are willing to work together despite the challenges and the external influences is a step towards peace for us Chadians.
As Sucé Masra has only a few days to form his new government, the Chadian people await the development. Elsewhere in the Democratic Republic of Congo, while the Electoral Commission of the country announced the preliminary results of the presidential elections, giving the outgoing president Félix Tshisekedi the winner with around 73% of the vote, critics and opponents denounced a biased vote. This is the case of Martin Fayulu, an opponent and candidate in the election who denounced electoral fraud and widespread irregularities. In an interview on BBC, Fayulu said, "Given the size of the crowd at my campaign rallies, the idea that I only received 5% of the vote was unbelievable. Final results are expected on January 3rd, and the president is expected to be sworn in at the end of this month."
And now we take this advertorial of Orange Cameroon as the population of Bamenda praises Orange Cameroon for our quality services rendered. They express gratitude after receiving gifts from Orange Cameroon during their celebration of the Maxet Caravan in Bamenda. Our Northwest correspondent followed the caravan around the city of Duala and now reports.
Joy engulfed the streets of Bamenda as Orange Cameroon, within the framework of its Celebrate to the Max, gifted its faithful subscribers during a caravan from one street to another in Bamenda.
I'm very, very happy. In fact, I don't know how to express the joy in me right now. I want to say a very big thank you to Orange.
And I talk to my fellow colleagues, my friends, my sister, my brothers that they can also win.
Well, I will thank Orange. I don't always be Orange for long. My son knows me born at 10 years.
Oh, yes.
So, Orange is my company.
As the Orange Cameroon mobile caravan moved from one street to the other, they were crowded by excited old as well as new subscribers at the different stops. By downloading the Max Eat Orange application on Play Store and making a 2,000 francs deposit into their Orange Money accounts, each subscriber became eligible to participate in the on-the-spot raffle draw that saw them winning huge prizes from Orange Cameroon.
I feel very happy, and I don't use Orange card now. Orange SIM card now around 1 year now. The network be very fast, and I like to use and go online, go do my thing and day.
Max Eat, the Orange Cameroon application, is an upgrade version of the My Orange application. The Max Eat application is not only more secured and easier to use, but it is also equipped with all Orange Money services, a marketplace, and lots more.
Everywhere you go, you see Orange. Orange are number one, the winner. Yes, yes, Orange are number one.
This caravan in Bamenda enabled Orange Cameroon subscribers to feast easily, as testified by the lucky winners.
This one, so it will be a wonderful gift for me and my family and my friends. This one, it shows great things they get to come my side. If I feel receive this bundle from Orange Cameroon, the first time in the history I win something from Orange. I don't be customer of Orange for over 20 years.
The Max Eat application is available free of charge on Android as well as Apple devices.
And that's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, I will be receiving a teacher, and it's no other person than Dium Emmanuel. Good evening, Mr. Dium Emmanuel. You are a teacher, so tell us, how effective were classes in your institution today after yesterday's New Year's celebration? Was the attendance of students and teachers encouraging?
Good evening, Immaculate, and thanks for having me. You permit me to greet all the teachers and say Happy New Year 2024 to all the teaching corps, and not leaving out the learners, the students in every category. Your question is my impression about how school take off today and the turnout. I must be very sincere with you that we cannot talk about this situation without examining the confusing and conflicting communiques that came out before we departed for holiday. You bear with me that there are schools that actually separated or went on holiday for Christmas break on the 22nd because there were a lot of communiques circulating. People were doubting whether they were authentic or not. But our problem was because at the level of the government's communication, we were waiting that what the government signed, the joint communique signed by the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education in August, that is exactly what we were supposed to follow. But I don't know where another communique came up that said schools were supposed to close on the 22nd and resumption was supposed to be on the 8th. It actually, these conflicting communiques actually put the educational stakeholders at a very tight corner. Because you will discover that as some schools were preparing to go on the 15th, others had to wait until the 22nd. And by government standard, they were expecting to come back to school today. So I will tell you that in my school where I work, the turnout was to the lowest minimum today. Just imagine that you have a school that has up to about 400 pupils, and on the day of the resumption, you are having 33 pupils. Then something is very wrong somewhere. Not to talk of even the personnel. Most of them did not turn up. At the time you people were walking into this place, I was doing my statistics of how many teachers were absent, how many were present. And I will tell you that a good number of them were absent.
Dium Emmanuel, the second term officially kickstarts today across Cameroon. What is your overall appraisal of this timing?
It gives us every reason to point a finger at poor planning. Because a lot of things happen at times and people are not aware why. Because of the government strategy of communication. when the government fails to communicate rightly, it gives room for guesswork. And when people are already basing their argument on guesswork, what happens today happen. Many schools are believing that they will come tomorrow. But as I speak to you now, the inspector of Duala has already sent out a communique warning all the teachers who were absent today and the schools that their doors were closed, that they will have to answer some charges as to that. But I don't think it's supposed to be the problem of the teachers. The communication was supposed to have started right up from somewhere down to the level of the teachers and the parents. So I left the school not very happy, but then I could not blame the parents.
But then, wasn't it better for children to be given a little bit more time, let's say 2 or a day, to fully recover from festivities? And also, what about those children who had to travel out of town? Don't you think it was practically impossible for them to attend classes today?
The question is very pertinent. You know, during this festive period, there is a lot of movements. There are people who have to see their families that they have been missing for a very long time. Children are not left out. I want to think that those who are in charge of the academic calendar have to take into account a lot of factors. And one of the factors should be the timing of the various dates of festivities in our country, like it is done somewhere in other countries. You have to take into account if the first falls on a Monday day, people who are supposed to celebrate with their families back in the villages or nearby towns, they are supposed to be traveling on Tuesday to come back. Then when you come and you put school resumption on a day like this one, it tells you that those who are in charge of the academic calendar, it is either they are not effective in what they are doing or they are doing it wrongly. One can also be very right to think that they did class today. A teacher who left Bamenda yesterday, or who left Yaoundé, who left Kumba, just in case there's an incident on the way that the car had a breakdown, will you be expecting such a teacher, such a child back in the classroom? No. So I think at times those who are in charge of such departments need to synergize. They need to think. They need to sit together, work with the calendar in order to avoid such situations like the one we find today. The town of Duala, which is one of the most populated, was actually deserted this morning. People had to enjoy yesterday, which is not a fault. I mean, people need to celebrate that God has made it possible for them to see the new year. And you will not punish them, you will not penalize them because there is school the next day.
Dewum Emmanuel, a teacher based right here in the city of Duala. Thank you so much for being part of Talking Point tonight. And equally a big thanks to you, dear viewers of Equinoxe TV. That's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. Have a wonderful evening in the company of more interesting programs on ETV.